Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Improve English Daily podcast. I'm George, your host, and I'm really excited for today's topic. Whether you're at home, at work, or even on the go, we all want to make the most out of our day. But let's be honest, staying productive can sometimes feel like a chore. That's why today, we're talking about how to make productivity more fun. How do we stay motivated, keep things interesting, and still get everything done? Well, we've got a great guest today to help us out. Please welcome Lucy, an expert in productivity hacks, and a friend of mine for quite a while. Lucy, I'm really glad you could join us today. How are you doing?
Hey George, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to talk about this topic because honestly, who doesn't want to make productivity a little more fun, right?
Exactly. I think we could all use a little more fun in our daily routines. So before we dive into our discussion, I want to ask you, what's your favorite way to make a boring task a bit more enjoyable?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I love to break up tasks with little rewards. For example, if I finish a certain task, I treat myself to something I really enjoy, like a short walk, a cup of coffee, or a quick break to watch a funny video. What about you, George? How do you make it fun?
Nice. I also do something similar. I'll set small goals throughout the day, and once I hit them, I take a moment to relax. But one thing that really helps me is music. I listen to upbeat songs when I need energy, or instrumental music when I need to focus. It's kind of like setting the mood for the task, you know?
Oh, I totally get that. Music is a game changer. It's like it sets the rhythm for your work. But not everyone is into music. Some people find it distracting. Have you ever tried working in complete silence?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Sometimes, silence can be golden, especially if you're doing something that requires a lot of focus. But I also think the key is to find what works best for each person. So Lucy, what's your number one tip for someone who's struggling to stay productive?
Well, if you're really struggling, I'd suggest starting with small tasks. Don't overwhelm yourself by looking at the big picture right away. Break things down into smaller, more manageable chunks. It's all about progress, not perfection.
That's really good advice. Starting small is often the easiest way to gain momentum. I've heard a lot of people mention the 2-minute rule, like, if it'll take less than 2 minutes, just do it. Have you ever tried that?
Yes, I use that rule all the time, especially with things I tend to put off, like answering emails or cleaning up my desk. It's amazing how many little tasks you can actually finish in just 2 minutes.
Exactly. It's all about eliminating those small nagging things that can pile up and overwhelm you. But what about bigger tasks? How do you keep them from feeling too big to tackle?
For big tasks, I think it's all about breaking them into steps, just like you mentioned earlier. And I try to make the first step something really simple and easy to do. Once I get started, it's much easier to keep going. I also like to visualize the end result, imagining how good I'll feel once I'm done. It helps a lot with motivation.
Ah, that's a great strategy. Visualizing the finish line really helps push you forward. But let's be honest, there are days when it just feels like nothing is going right. How do you handle those days when productivity is nowhere to be found?
Oh, trust me, I've had my fair share of those days. On those days, I try to be kind to myself. I don't beat myself up for not being productive. Instead, I focus on just doing something, even if it's small. And then I try to adjust my environment. Maybe I change the lighting, or I move to a different spot. Sometimes, just changing things up can make a huge difference.
I love that approach. It's so important not to be too hard on ourselves. Everyone has off days. But what about those times when you feel like you're getting distracted all the time? Do you have a strategy for staying focused?
Distractions. They're the worst, right? I think the first thing to do is to identify what's distracting you. Is it your phone? The internet? Once you know, you can set boundaries. For example, I'll turn off my notifications or set a timer for a focused work session. It's like, hey, I'm in work mode for the next 30 minutes, and then I give myself a break afterward.
That's a good one. Setting boundaries for your distractions is key. I know people who also use apps to block distracting sites. Do you use any productivity apps or tools that you find helpful?
Yes, I do. One of my favorites is a simple to-do list app. It helps me keep track of tasks, and there's something so satisfying about checking things off. I also use time tracking apps, especially when I need to stay on top of my work for long hours. It's a little reminder to take breaks and avoid burnout.
Oh, I know that feeling. There's something about checking off tasks that just makes you feel accomplished, right? It's like you're building your own progress. But what if someone feels like they're working hard, but they're not getting anywhere? How do you deal with that feeling of being stuck?
That happens a lot, especially when you're juggling multiple tasks at once. When I feel stuck, I try to step back and reassess. Maybe my goals aren't clear, or I've taken on too much. I'll take a moment to organize everything, and sometimes I just need to take a real break, like an hour or two to reset before diving back in. That fresh perspective helps.
That's a smart approach. Taking a step back and getting clarity can make a huge difference. Sometimes, we're so deep in the work that we forget the bigger picture. Now, speaking of fun, how do you keep things fun when the task itself is a bit boring or repetitive?
That's a great question. For repetitive tasks, I try to make them into a challenge. Like, I'll see how fast I can complete them, or try to beat my previous time. I also listen to podcasts like this one while doing boring tasks. It's a great way to keep the mind engaged without feeling like you're wasting time.
I love the competitive approach. Who doesn't like a little challenge? But I totally get the idea of multitasking, especially when it comes to listening to something educational while doing repetitive work. It makes the time go by faster. Do you have any tips for staying energized throughout the day?
Definitely. First off, I make sure to hydrate. A lot of times, fatigue comes from being dehydrated. I also take short breaks every hour. Even just standing up, stretching, or walking around for a few minutes makes a huge difference. And of course, I try to get a good night's sleep. Without that, productivity goes down the drain.
Hydration and sleep, the two things people often overlook. I know I'm guilty of that. But I really believe in those small habits that add up over time. Now, Lucy, what's your perspective on balancing productivity with relaxation?
It's all about balance for sure. Sometimes, we get so focused on being productive that we forget the importance of relaxation. I try to schedule downtime just like I schedule work time. For me, it's about making relaxation intentional, whether it's reading, doing a hobby, or just sitting in silence. You need that time to recharge.
That's a great point. We often think productivity means doing all the time, but in reality, rest is part of the process. So, Lucy, if you could leave our listeners with one final tip to make productivity more fun, what would it be?
I would say, don't forget to celebrate your wins, no matter how small they are. Whether you finished a big project or simply crossed off a task from your list, take a moment to acknowledge your progress. It keeps you motivated and reminds you that you're on the right track.
I love that. Celebrating the small wins keeps the momentum going. And I think that's a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lucy. You've given us a lot of great insights into how to stay productive while keeping things fun.
Thanks, George. I had so much fun chatting with you today. I hope these tips help everyone out there. Remember, productivity doesn't have to be boring. It can be exciting if you approach it the right way.
Absolutely. And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in. I hope you found today's episode helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to the Improve English Daily podcast for more tips, tricks, and fun ways to improve your English and productivity every day. Until next time, stay productive, stay positive, and keep improving your English, one day at a time. See you in the next episode.
Take care, everyone.
Chunks. Chunks generally refer to pieces or portions of something that have been divided or broken off. Example: to finish this big project, let's break it down into smaller chunks so it's easier to manage. Tend. Tend means to have a general inclination or habit toward something, or to look after or care for something. Example: I tend to drink coffee in the morning. Tackle. Tackle refers to addressing or dealing with something, or to physically confront or handle a situation or problem. Example: I need to tackle my homework before I can relax. Engaged. Engaged means involved in a task or activity, busy doing something. Example: she was fully engaged in the conversation and didn't notice the time passing. Fatigue. Fatigue refers to extreme tiredness or a state of physical or mental exhaustion, often caused by overwork, stress, or lack of rest. Example: after running a marathon, he felt a deep sense of fatigue and needed to rest for several hours.
Thank you for watching. To improve your English skills, don't forget to practice every day. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and comment.